We got a gorilla for sale. Miller gorilla for sale. We got a gorilla for sale. Gorilla for sale.
Yeah, real guerrilla warfare.
What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Young Justice Review. This time, episode 13, Alpha Male. We have Rich. Rich, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Just looking forward to diving into this episode.
And it's a pretty interesting episode to kind of give everybody the skinny. There's more talk about the mole progresses. That's kind of a little bit of a situation in this episode. Sets up the tension amongst our heroes. But basically, they have this gorilla kind of running amok. His name is Gorilla, but the gorilla is guerrilla warfare and then gorilla. So
It's not Gorilla Grodd, so don't get confused.
that's right. Yeah, two different ones. Although I wouldn't be surprised if people are not, and they do think one is the other. So what they've done is with the venom, the Bane venom, or that venom that they used earlier in the episode, a bunch of stashes just kind of got loose. They give them to these animals, and we got Gorilla, this thing called the brain, and they were trying to do surgery on Shazam. But they weren't successful because our heroes wound up managing to foil their plan. But the main baddies in this episode, Gorilla and the brain. We got infected animals. That was pretty crazy. Overall, there is a slight sense of tension because now this mole thing has kind of come into place. And while they're on their mission, it has impacted them a little bit because our team feels that Calderon Aqualad, in this case, he is withholding information. Depending on which side you think, how you feel, I leave that up to you. Rich, what'd you think about this episode?
I mean, it makes sense why Kid Flash and Robin would be pissed at Calderon. I guess it makes sense for all of them to be pissed, but more Kid Flash and Robin since they've known each other for so long. I like Wolf. I liked how we got like Wolf. Who obviously is a reference to Crypto. But it's funny because he's like he doesn't have he's like Superboy in the sense that he just has like super strength and stuff.
He does.
While Crypto had like all of Superman's powers. I liked the Brain. He was pretty interesting character.
Yeah, he had a French accent.
I liked how he really thought he was gonna be able to cut the head open of a being who's godlike, who's literally given the powers of the gods. I kind of wish he would have tried and see what happened.
Yeah, it would have been nice to know.
Yeah, I mean, would you find out? We obviously know Captain Marvel is 10-year-old boy, so would you have found like the little boy's mind, or would he find an adult's mind? Would he be even able to use the power of in that body? Would he even be able to use the power of Shazam? He's not really. It's not the body that's just the person that's chosen. Yeah, I liked. Even though I really have never liked Captain Marvel, I always thought he was a lame magic ripoff of Superman. Obviously, I know he's not an alien. Obviously, I know he's really like a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, that's why he was created to begin with. And it was not even DC originally. But anyway, I like the fact that Captain Marvel, you really see him act kind of like a kid, even with the wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how he gets he's like all excited to be with them and stuff, to hang out, and no one knows. Everyone's like looking at him like, okay. I didn't like, maybe it's like nitpicking, but those animals, they're wild animals. And I guess they fought like fucking killer robots in the last episode. But they took those animals out like pretty easy.
They did.
And I guess they're trained and stuff. They took out killer robots. I mean, though it took them an episode to figure out how to do it. And the ones with the superpowers were caught. It's just like these animals are like wild animals, and even like the animals when they broke the collars off, they were kind of a little too. I don't know. They kind of came off a little too tame. Like the tiger just walks back into the forest or jungle, whatever.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. I'm kind of sad there wasn't a Gorilla Grodd like reference. Like, oh man, you look like Gorilla Grodd. But I guess I know who he is anyway. What didn't you like about the episode, Urson?
What didn't I like?
Yeah, what didn't you like?
It all kind of moved very fast to me. Overall, a good episode, but it all kind of went from one plot to another plot. They're not really fighting anybody. They're just making do. Maybe that's not a better. I could probably use a better phrase. our heroes are kind of just like fighting the the
The animals.
animals so much so that this way they stop them from continuously being hurt.
Right. I
And
guess.
they're
I
just
guess.
fighting animals. They're in India, you know. I mean, pardon me, gorilla, but gorilla's a gorilla, so they are pretty much just fighting that. It's more of a plot device to move the fact that there is a mole and to start with the tension with that. Now we got to build little bits and how it affects the reconnaissance mission.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, it was kind of nice to see. It was still kind of nice to see Superboy kind of be protective over Miss Martian, even though she checked him for it.
yeah, a little too overprotective though. She
Hundred
holds
percent.
mad weight in this episode. That's the one thing I did like about it. She works well with a team. She adjusts really well. She works well by herself. She holds weight. She gets 4 arms in this episode. She looks like Goro from Mortal Kombat. For anyone that hasn't seen, I think it's Mortal Kombat 4. I think it's Kung Lao and the Goro ending. Just check it out because he slices him in the chest, Kung Lao, and he goes, "Do you want to, Goro? Do you want to continue this?" And he goes, "No, I want to make peace." It's the funniest ending. Take a look. But anywho, I digress. She does hold weight in
Yeah.
this episode, and I like the fact that they move the mole along, because that thing's coming up, man. The one thing I did notice as
Yeah.
well is when Aqualad mentions that Sportsmaster was the person that gave him the tip, the only person to react and say, you can't trust that guy, and any reaction at all, was Artemis. But at this present moment, I don't think anybody within our group is the mole. Because we're still led to believe that it's Red Tornado.
Right, and that's another thing. I like that they. I like that actually. What I did also liked is that it took place right after last episode. You know, it's not one of these shows where like there hasn't a monster of the week. Well, it does sort of, but each episode's connected. And I liked how Batman was like, what's a super? What was he? The Superboy. He was like, he's a Justice League member. Red Tornado will deal with him. So it was kind of nice. I liked how the team at the end came together. They're all pissed at Aqualad, and then they're like, they could actually start. They started to understand like, what happened. Like they understood his position. So that was nice.
There was a cool scene where Aqualad uses his abilities to break through at least like a little hole, so this way Artemis could shoot a shot to get rid of this
Yeah,
barrier thing that they got, the brain and gorilla that is. So this way they can go in, wind up saving Shazam. They eventually realize that they're also saving Tiger. Superboy gets Wolf. Superboy has a
mm-hmm.
sphere and a wolf. So now I want to see, because he denied Sphere the ability to go with them, but we still don't know much about Sphere. So I'd like to see what they would do moving forward, how much Sphere and Wolf will be implemented. Maybe they'll go on
You think
missions. That'd be
Sphere?
great.
Yeah, you think Sphere is gonna get jealous to Wolf?
Sphere? Jealousy? I don't know.
I
It's a
mean, come
robot.
on. I mean, the robot, but he obviously acts like a dog or something. You know, he's gonna like look at like this new companion to this motherfucker.
Let's see. Let's
It's
see.
fucking.
Otherwise, they did get some of that venom. I think it's called the Bane Venom. They got
It was a
shipments out
blockbuster
somehow.
Venom stuff too, right?
Yeah, yeah, the blockbuster stuff, because those elephants had those scrape thingies on their faces. The
Yeah.
one thing that they missed in this episode, and maybe I'm nitpicking, Superboy still knows Spanish. No one's told me that he hasn't known Spanish. Why didn't the brain speak any French so they can give us a little bit of Superboy parlez-vous the français? So, Rich, how would you rate this episode?
I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
8.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid episode, but it was, you know what this episode was? It was kind of slow to me, and I hate to say this, but you know when you watch a TV show, like especially animes, they have fillers.
Yeah.
It almost felt like a filler, but not exactly like a filler because it did hold some weight in referencing the mole and everything, and but it almost felt like they made this episode just to make the episode so they can have their, I don't know, 26 episode order or whatever it is. But what I do appreciate is that they didn't just keep like a filler that had no reference and it was pointless, but they added some stuff from like, you know, the mole and everything. They referenced stuff.
I
What
give
about you?
this 7.5. I like
Okay,
overall
so
what they did. If you like a reconnaissance mission, if you like seeing all our heroes do little bits of everything, dissension amongst the team winds up getting whelmed, if you will. Nice little shout out to the show.
uh,
If you
the
like
pilot.
seeing that with a little bit of character, our heroes kind of having a bit of an issue with each other, but eventually Aqualad kind of, getting some strength and coming into play as the leader. I think it's cool. If you like Captain Marvel, it's great. It moves us just a little bit more. So this is maybe step D in a multi-step situation that we got going on. So this is the next piece on the
Yeah,
chessboard.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like a filler, but it's not a filler.
Yeah.
Like they have an episode totally random mission that really has nothing to do with what is really going on. I don't think they didn't even include the light. You think the light would be working with them or something, but
They
they'd be
do
working with
this
the light.
where it's a episode that shows us the light at the end, and then there's an episode or two or something like that where nothing happens with the light, but it's still kind of loosely influenced. So they do this. They give us just enough so far. Not bad.
Which is good, so you don't get tired of the light.
Yeah, and also milks out the season.
Yeah, and it makes also a little bit more mystery to
Right,
the light.
right. All right,
Um,
folks. That was episode 13 of Young Justice. What's the name of this thing?
Alpha
Alpha
male.
Male. Alpha Male. Stay tuned. Coming up,
Hey, good-
episode 14. Hasta
goodbye, all you,
luego.
okay, goodbye, all you alphas and betas out there.